Okay, everybody, welcome back. Romney Navarro here, Streamline Funding out of Austin, Texas. This is now the fourth of the 5 C's that we're going to cover. I mentioned earlier, this is the least glamorous of them all. It's not that they need to be glamorous or they need to be, incredibly meaty or important. They all serve a purpose. But this one in particular is very kind of easy to get to understand. This fourth C, if you will, is character. What is character? Well, that is a deep, dense question. Something that you talk about with your colleagues, something you talk about with your children, something you talk about with the old timers, grabbing a coffee. But ultimately, character, in the world of lending is, what exactly is this person's intention? And do they have a background in, defrauding institutions? That's a heavy, heavy dose right there. Okay. But think about it for a second. Would you let your children be babysat by a sex offender? No. Right? Would you, I wouldn't let that guy cut my grass. Okay. Fast forward, we're talking about a loan. Imagine somebody who's committed wire fraud, $100,000 worth of wire fraud. Would you want to give that guy a loan for $1 million? Probably not. So I use some severe examples because at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is real money. So what is character and what is character in my world? Some people are going to say character is going to be measured by way of, say, a felony. That's a very common trait in the entire industry. Most people will not lend to somebody with a criminal background. In my world, I'm really, really laser pointing or looking at their background, but specifically looking for white collar crimes. I use the example of, say, wire fraud. That one happens. There's not a, every 6 months or so, I see some wire fraud, some mail fraud, some type of financial crime, whatever that may be, even credit card fraud that popped up a lot, 10 years ago. It's important to understand that a bank is looking for that. So I'm going to be talking for a few more minutes, but I just wanted to say character, white collar crimes, absolutely going to be kicked to the curb when you're looking to obtain a loan. If you've done it in the past, it's a very high likelihood that you'll do it in the future. And that's what the banks are trying to avoid. They do not want to get in that situation. Every single lender, as I mentioned earlier in another part of the series, wants to get paid back their investment. So this is where we kind of segue away from the C and kind of how to correct. So maybe the 6th C, if you will. How to correct a character blemish. By the way, everybody deserves a second chance. I'm for it. While I might not let this one guy cut my grass, doesn't mean he can't cut somebody else's grass. Okay? Right? While he might not necessarily get a loan from me for $1 million, doesn't mean somebody else won't give him $1 million loan. However, let's just kind of play in he wants to grow his real estate business and he has a checkered past with financial crimes. Gosh, it's so hard to say because again, it's a resounding no for me, but that doesn't mean that person doesn't deserve a chance to transact and make a living. In fact, maybe even build an empire. So how do you correct this? I have deferred until right now, this 4th video, to talk about it, but it's simple. It's partnership. Okay. Everybody has a role. Today, where I'm sitting, talking to you in 2022, I can tell you this. The tables have turned in terms of the importance, if you will, the significance of the deal to dollars kind of measuring system. When I first got into this business, dollars, capital, cash was by far and away the most important thing. Deals were a dime a dozen. Cash was hard to come by. Today, quite literally, and I'm one of these guys, cash is a dime a dozen. There is money everywhere. But you know what's not? You know what the hottest commodity is? Is deals. Okay? So if you're in a position where, you've got a background, let's just call it a background, and lenders aren't willing to talk to you. It is very likely, by the way. Like I said, I look for white collar crimes. Most lenders actually look at felonies. They say, if there is a felony, we will not pursue this transaction. Okay, so if that's you, this is time to really and truly consider a partnership. There's going to be people out there who are pedigreed, credentialed, have, all the things that it takes to transact, but they're missing one thing, and that's possibly you. That's possibly you and your ability to create deal flow. So deal flow right now is king. Again, I'm talking to you in 2022. I'm not sure how evergreen these are going to be. I can tell you these 5 C's that I'm talking about are forever going to live on in some form or fashion. But what exactly the balance of deals to dollars is always going to change. But right now, if you want to build your business and grow your empire, and you're starting from a place of a checkered past, which is very likely, it's time to bring on a partner. Bring on a capital partner, bring on a credit partner, bring on an operating partner. And then you focus on the magic, which is today's magic, which is the deals. So, little bit of a weird 4th C. Certainly not glamorous. Always a little bit awkward when we have the conversation on the phone. But again, it's the banker's rules. And in this case, it's how we look at the world. And I want you guys to understand that this is how we look at the world, so that you know how to present to folks like us. When you present and try to force something like this, as I mentioned earlier, that gate goes up, very hard to bring it down. So we're going to end, if I'm not mistaken, the one thing we have not spoken about just yet is credentials. Earlier I said cash was the magic eraser. In 2022, credentials are about as important as anything else. I'll tell you exactly what those are in just a moment. Hopefully you stick around and finish this series. But I've enjoyed talking to you guys about this, and look forward to the next one.